There are moments in life when time folds. You meet someone for the first time, but it feels like a reunion. You walk through an unfamiliar place, yet every stone, every scent feels like déjà vu. You wake from a dream, haunted by a life you never lived, but somehow remember. Carl Jung once said, "The soul has its own secret history, and in that history may lie echoes of lives before this one." This isn't about fantasy, it's about remembering. The soft recognition of something ancient living inside you. Something that stirs when a certain melody plays, or when you feel a grief that has no name. This is about the mystery of soul memory, the silent archive beneath your personality. If you've ever felt old in a young body, if you've ever mourned things you've never lost, stay with me. Because these feelings may not be illusions, they may be traces of a deeper continuity, an invisible thread stretching through time. These are the signs your soul may have lived before, in a different name, a different face, but the same eternal essence. Carl Jung didn't claim belief in reincarnation outright, but he spoke often of inherited psychic contents, what he called archetypes, the ancient patterns of story, emotion, and image embedded in the collective unconscious. These are not born from personal experience alone, but from a deeper layer of reality shared across all humanity. And while Jung avoided dogma, his dreams and writings often hinted at something more. The presence of memory that didn't belong to this lifetime, yet felt intimately personal. A knowing without explanation. In his process of individuation, the journey towards psychological wholeness, Jung believed the self to be timeless, a force that transcends ego, persona, and even the boundary of one life. Sometimes he spoke of ancestral memory, of spiritual inheritance, of experiences imprinted upon the soul across generations. And within this symbolic language, we begin to glimpse the possibility of past lives, not as linear scripts, but as energetic blueprints, emotional residues, unfinished chapters carried within us, asking to be remembered, integrated, completed. So when we speak of past lives through Jung's lens, we are not merely recalling mystical stories. We are exploring the deeper memory of the soul, the traces that shape our fears, fascinations, longings, and gifts. With that understanding, let's explore 4 symbolic, energetic, and psychic signs that your soul may have walked this earth before. Sign number 1, you carry unexplainable fears or fixations. You flinch at the sight of deep water, though you've never come close to drowning. You feel uneasy near fire, though no flame has ever hurt you. Certain sounds, smells, or places stir a quiet panic in you. Not dramatic, not loud, but bone deep. And when you try to explain it, the words don't come. That's because the story isn't in your conscious memory. It's buried deeper in the unconscious. Carl Jung believed that when the conscious mind forgets or represses, the unconscious remembers. But he also suggested that the unconscious is not just personal, it is collective, ancestral, and possibly eternal. In this view, some fears are not learned, they are carried. Not from your childhood, not even from your family, but from the soul's long journey across time. Jung explored how phobias and intense fixations might be psychic residues, impressions left by overwhelming experiences that the psyche couldn't process in a former existence. And when these unresolved fragments are not brought into awareness, they return in symbols, behaviors, and irrational aversions. These fears may not respond to logic because they were never born in logic. They were born in emotion, raw, unspoken, archetypal emotion. You might feel shame for being sensitive or irrational, but what if your fear of heights isn't a flaw? What if it's a trace of a fall your body doesn't remember, but your soul never forgot? The same goes for your strange fixations, obsessions with certain eras, cultures, names, or faces. They may not be random, they may be echoes, your soul reaching for something familiar, something unresolved. The shadow wants to hide these fears, to dismiss them or bury them deeper, but your soul wants to heal them. And healing doesn't mean erasing the fear, it means facing it gently, curiously, compassionately. Because every irrational fear may be a breadcrumb leading you to a memory that needs light. And when you walk toward that fear instead of away from it, you change the story. Not just for this life, but for the life that came before. You offer your soul closure. You begin to alchemize pain into wisdom. And perhaps that's the very reason it returned. Sign number 2. You have instant soul connections. One day you meet someone, a stranger by every earthly definition, and yet your heart surges with recognition. Not just affection, not just curiosity, but a wordless knowing. Something ancient stirs, and suddenly you feel like you've known them for lifetimes. This isn't the awkward spark of new attraction. It's the calm, magnetic pull of reunion. As if your soul whispers, "There you are, I've been waiting." Carl Jung spoke of encounters that awaken archetypal energies, people who embody aspects of our unconscious self and activate dormant psychic content. These meetings aren't random, they feel charged because they are. Your conscious mind scrambles for explanations, shared interests, synchronicity, chemistry. But the truth may be simpler and stranger. Your souls have already met. Some believe these are karmic bonds, threads woven across lifetimes. And when the timing aligns, the universe orchestrates a return. These connections can be beautiful, but they're not always easy. Sometimes they're wrapped in longing, heartbreak, even conflict. Because not every soul reunion is a celebration. Some are a reckoning, a chance to complete what was left unresolved. That's why these people stir emotions so quickly. Passion, fear, joy, grief. They're not just lovers or friends. They're soul mirrors. And mirrors don't flatter, they reveal. You may feel seen in a way no one else has ever seen you, or triggered in ways that seem disproportionate. That's because these relationships bypass surface-level defenses. They go straight to the psyche. Jung might say they constellate the self. They wake up parts of you didn't know were asleep. You don't have to believe in reincarnation to feel this. Just recall someone who changed your life within moments. Someone who felt important before you knew their name. Not every soulmate is meant to stay. Some appear only for a season. But the depth of the connection isn't measured by time, it's measured by transformation. These people come into our lives to help us evolve, to unlock something buried, to close a loop that began long ago. And when your soul recognizes theirs, it's not imagination, it's memory. It's the past reaching through the present, asking to be made whole. Sign number 3. You're drawn to certain cultures, time periods, or languages. After meeting someone who felt like home, you find yourself yearning for a place you've never been, not with curiosity, but with ache. A city's name gives you chills. An old language makes your eyes water. You hear music from another era, and something ancient within you begins to stir. People call it wanderlust. They say, maybe you were just born in the wrong generation. But what if it's not just a preference, but a return? Carl Jung believed our psyche was shaped not just by personal experience, but by the collective unconscious, a vast reservoir of inherited symbols, myths, and patterns. But when you feel inexplicably connected to one particular culture, when a historical period feels more real than your own, it may not just be a collective myth. It may be a personal memory. These longings feel sacred, not like interests, but like soul imprints. You dream in languages you've never learned. You weep for places you've never walked. And no matter how much time passes, the pull doesn't fade, it deepens. People may dismiss it as romanticism, aesthetic obsession, but deep down, you know it's more. It's not just a fascination with Victorian England or ancient Egypt or feudal Japan. It's grief. It's remembrance. It's the echo of a life once lived. Jung would say that every symbol carries a psychic charge, and sometimes those charges are stronger because the soul has lived them before. They're not borrowed images from collective myths. They're fragments from your personal unconscious, bleeding through from another time. The shadow tension arises when you try to dismiss these longings as silly, impractical, childish. You try to explain them away, but they persist, because your soul remembers. And when you follow these invisible threads, that inexplicable draw to certain rituals, architecture, art, or dialect, you begin to reclaim pieces of yourself that don't belong to this life, but still belong to you. You weren't born fascinated by these things. You were called back to them. So listen, let yourself be led. Because those strange obsessions might not be signs of escapism. They might be the breadcrumbs of a story your soul is still writing. Sign number 4. You feel older than your age. After being drawn to ancient cultures and forgotten eras, you notice something else. You've never really felt your age. Even as a child, the world felt strange. The other kids seemed so carefree, so rooted in the moment, while you stood apart, watching, feeling, knowing. You weren't just quiet. You were observing, as if your soul had already seen it all. You laughed less, not because you were unhappy, but because something in you already understood the weight behind the masks people wear. Jung taught that individuation, the process of becoming whole, spans across lifetimes. We don't begin each life as a blank slate. Some of us arrive carrying ancient wisdom, deep soul memories, and unresolved tasks from lives before. This is the path of the old soul. And old souls don't always feel at home in the speed and noise of the modern world. You've probably been called too serious, too sensitive, too wise for your years. But those aren't criticisms, they're signs. Because your depth isn't something you learned. It's something you brought with you. You speak like someone who has seen kingdoms rise and fall. You feel the sadness in a song others find cheerful. You sense the motives people try to hide. Not because you're paranoid, but because you've walked through those patterns before. The shadow tension appears when you try to fit in, when you pretend to enjoy shallow talk or chase distractions that don't nourish you. It leaves you feeling hollow, because you weren't meant to live superficially. Your soul has work to do, not in ambition, but in remembering. You didn't come here to be understood by everyone. You came to quietly awaken, to remind yourself and others that depth exists, that truth whispers beneath appearances, that wisdom is felt, not earned. Carl Jung would remind us that the self is timeless, and when your inner self feels ancient, it's not delusion, it's a spiritual inheritance. You've been here before, and you've returned, not to be loud, but to be light. So if you feel older than your age, it's because your soul isn't new. It's just remembering where it left off. If these signs stirred something in you, it's not about proving you had a past life, but about listening to the soul's subtle voice. The soul speaks not in facts, but in symbols, sensations, and synchronicities. Carl Jung said, "The unconscious is always right in the end. So if a truth wells up in your bones, trust it. You don't need to grasp the whole story. Sometimes honoring that something deep within remembers is enough, and that remembering is sacred. Write a letter to your soul, not demanding answers, but offering recognition. Tell it, I hear you. I honor your journey across lifetimes." This simple act of awareness can bring peace, direction, and a gentle closure you might have longed for. You are not just a name, a role, or a moment in time. You are a soul in motion, a story still unfolding. If you have carried mysteries within you or felt echoes beyond your biography, perhaps it's not imagination but memory. Jung taught that wholeness does not start with clarity but with honesty about what we feel, even when we can't explain it. So if your life feels too deep for one lifetime, trust that intuition. Stay curious, stay open. Remember, what the mind forgets, the soul eternally recalls. This is Echoes of Psyche, where we listen to the quiet whispers of the soul's ancient song. If this stirred something deep within you, know it is no mere curiosity. It is the gentle awakening of your timeless spirit.